What's up, guys? It's your friendly neighborhood Wolf here, and I wanted to talk about some of the changes that has happened from between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. One of the interesting things is now no longer is the end goal seeming to be basically in your opponent's base, and you can't just run up to that enemy spawn and camp them there anymore. It seems like the dev team had really learned a lot from the first game, so they're going to pretty much prevent that, and they've done so on every single match that you can see, every single map, excuse me, that you see. There is no real way to come in and really lock them out like you could before. And that's a really good change because first of all, it's hard to come back anyway just because of the ink mechanic and how you can just hide in it. And second of all, being trapped is never really a fun situation. You always want to have it interesting, so that way your opponents have something to do. But the cool part is you still can sort of lock them down if you're careful and smart enough with your positioning. So it's pretty interesting to see, and I'm really looking forward to see how everyone adapts to these things. We might not have seen a lot of it coming from the Splatoon Invitational because we're pretty new to the game, so we don't have months of experience to back us up yet. But I'm certain as time progresses, we'll start to figure things out. But the thing I find interesting is that there seems to be a counter for everything, and it's no longer just, oh, I got hit by a disruptor, looks like I can't do anything, or oh, I got bubbled against, oh well, XD, So that's kind of really fortunate for us. So I'm really excited to see the future of this game because one, I'm going to try my best in it, obviously, and then two, I really believe it's going to be a lot different because you can see here with the zones. First of all, spectator mode is a huge deal. Obviously, Splatoon 1, we had to have everyone with individual cards, and even then we didn't have the full perspective of the game, making it very hard and difficult for people to actually have a good eye at what's actually happening. And so a lot of respect for the commentators who still made it work despite not having all this information shown to them. Whereas like now you can see like, ooh, right there it was like really close to half for the Japanese to take it over. Looks like they're gonna get it, and then now you can see it more visually and it's more straightforward. So that's a really neat little change. And on top of that, it just seems like now you have to be a lot more consistent. It's not about these like crazy burst pushes of stacking Krakens or anything nutty like that. And I'm really glad they strayed away from that because personally that was not really fun to play against or even as, because it just feels so boring and tame. But see, let's look at this image here real quick. You can see that they're keeping you from getting into the spawn. You can see that there's no real entry to the spawn other than this long winding path around, but the thing is that's so easily defended from their side of things, from those coming from spawn, because they have a lot more room to work with. So this kind of new map design is something I'm really excited for, and I'm really looking forward to see a lot more of in the game, because having the current spawn situation is just really frustrating, because if you get locked out there, that just is a bunch of free points that they can just delay you from for a long time, just because of the way the weapons are, invincible specials that make their staying there safe and stuff like that. It's just a bad situation. But here you can see they're working to change that, and the cool part is that now there's a lot more that you can work with ink wise, and it's just really exciting to see. So if you guys, I hope you guys had seen the Invitational, and if you haven't, please check it out. And not just because how it turned out, whatever, but because just in general the game is just so interesting to watch, because you can see like at any point things can change depending on the skill of your team and your opponent and how you play around certain things. Like there, Tim made a great push, and the Japanese team wasn't quite ready for it, and it costed him a bit. So it's just going to be quite interesting to see these different kinds of playstyles come into play. You'll see, so Rainmaker's a little bit different, obviously. You no longer get that super tornado, but even without it, you can still paint a head of yourself pretty easily, and you can zone out people who are trying to just hide behind corners. So it's a little bit safer than it was previously, but still pretty good, you know. On top of that, tower control was changed so that you have to reach these checkpoints. So, for instance, if a team, let's say you get a really strong push like these guys did, whatever, you don't have to go through that again. You can just keep going and going and going on that tower without having to stop. Whereas if they were to make a comeback, it'll be very difficult because they didn't get those checkpoints yet. So they'll have to run through all those checkpoints to get to actually beat you, which is a really nice change. Side note, this Moray Towers, some of these walls were a lot further apart. Completely random, but it's something I thought should be mentioned. And it's just nice to see that all of these different things have counters to them, and that's just what I'm trying to get across basically, is be ready to not have a defined answer for every situation. It's going to be a little bit more ambiguous, which actually makes it a lot more interesting because you'll get to see a lot more crazy options, I imagine, here in the future. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I really hope that you guys do as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and perhaps I might talk about something a little bit more exciting. But what could be more exciting than more interesting gameplay coming out of Splatoon?